you subscribe to Pando? That's so hot.
Three, two, one. There we go. Alrighty, guys. Before I say anything else, Kendarr is on a fleet, and I just realized my cam is a little bit off. There you go. Kendarr is on a fleet still, so he will be delayed by, he said 10 minutes. He said 15 minutes 5 minutes ago. So guess he'll show up in 10 minutes. It's Kendarr minutes, so might be 20 minutes, okay? So just so you, like, in case you get confused. And in the middle of this, the cams will all be fucking getting fucked up. So apologies in advance, because I have to fucking fix that also. It is what it is. But yeah, but Bjorn is here.
Hello.
And the Randa is here too.
Hi.
And yeah. Someone in chat already said, like, let's not talk about Keepstars. I'm sure Keepstars will come up at some point.
Honestly, when you asked me if I wanted to come talk, I was like, I got nothing to talk about in the current state of things. Like, I'm not a part of any of the big fights, any of the Keepstar fights. That's all I'm seeing, like as the big streams that are happening these days with the gigantic, repeats over and over again. So I was like, that's probably what he wants to talk about, and I don't really have much input.
And I told you right away, like, nah, not really. Like,
This is
Talk a
FC
little bit
chat,
about the,
not war chat.
yeah.
I mean, we might as well get it behind us right now because, like, I think the Keepstars, that's the most boring stuff for me to FC. Because all I have to do is, like, what doctrine do we do, right? Ravens, some Domes, some Tyrannuses. The Tyrannuses work really well, actually. You know, that's the fun part, the theory crafting, like leading up to it.
Execution of 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
able to slip up for a minute.
Wait.
That
Yeah, wait 20 minutes to warp in. Wait 20 minutes to lock the Keepstar. Wait another 20 minutes for your missiles to cycle. Pray that nobody alphas you in the process, and then align and wait 20 minutes to fucking warp out, and then do it all again. It's
but
so fun.
as an FC, it's all theory crafting. Like, I don't have to do anything, right? I did all, like, my apartment is clean as fuck. Like, I can do whatever I want. I just have to make the MOTD, give instructions, and then check in on people every now and then. So from that perspective, easiest. I don't want to say like the most boring fleets ever, because it is kind of interesting. But at the same time, my heart rate is not gonna go up, right? Like, I'm gonna sit there and chill, right? So
it's rage inducing for me because, one, I have no patience whatsoever. So having to sit there and spam click the same thing just to hope that it catches with the server tick, like, I have no patience for it. I just don't.
I've been in like one of these gigantic ones. I was in X47 when I was part of NC Dot and
I remember.
And that was like not a fun thing to be in. Like, I remember just sitting there with, a bunch of fucking Titans, and barely anyone could lock targets, and everyone was crashing, and like, it wasn't a fun way to play the game.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, what I always say is, if you go into those fights.
Sorry, my volume is apparently low.
Oh.
Yeah, can you turn his volume up?
Saying something.
Let's see.
Hello, potato. Hello.
Oh, you
hello.
were actually set to 75 or something. I don't know why.
Are we good?
I'm
Chat,
sorry.
hello.
Now he's better, right?
We good?
Potato.
I think we're good.
Hey, thanks for the sub, guys. So, whenever those big fights happen, I always tell myself, and like other people do, you don't really join those fights for the fight itself. You have to see it from the story perspective.
Yeah,
right?
you join that fight to tell the story about it 2 years from now.
Yeah, exactly,
Say, hey, I was there
exactly.
for all
Yeah.
all 20 Keepstars being dropped, I got to be there and sit on grid.
Yeah, you know what? BTEC-R is a good example, because I did form a fleet for BTEC-R, brought them in, and for those who remember the Wrecking Ball, that was the doctrine at the time with the carriers, and they were all Logis, obviously, right? Like, my idea was bring so many void bombs that when they jump in and try to spread out, we void bomb them all. So they're all kept out at the same time, so they never get going with their rep power, right? And then the lag was so big that none of the caps, and nothing was calculated. So everyone had infinite cap, and all the void bombs were completely wasted. And I was just like, now I'm in deep fucking tie-dye. I think it was already tie-dye at the time, right? Yeah. In deep tie-dye with like 70 dudes or so, and like whatever we wanted to do is completely useless. And now what, right? So like an hour or two in, I just disconnect and say like, whatever, right? Couldn't do it. And the other guys are just all a horde on Titans, right? At the time, a Titan kill was still special, right? So you have to always keep that in.
I think there's probably less like skill expression for individual FCs in these fights, but more of like a strategic skill expression. Like, how do you tackle this with the mechanics being the way they are? And that I find pretty interesting, seeing how you are dealing with like gigantic numbers on an anchoring Keepstar, and then like warping to pings with snipey shit, and like the tactics you're using with that. I'm like, holy shit, this is brilliant. Yeah. And how AIDS it must be to fight that. And like seeing the Titans warping to pings across and trying to bows, I'm like, that shit was fucking dope, But like, it's not quick skill expression like the way you're used to have seeing. Like, you like quick things like the bomber fleets and all that kind of stuff. So like, it's different. It's different, I think, but it's still cool.
And that's exactly what it is, right? In tie-dye, the fight itself requires almost zero skill because like everyone's reaction time is perfect. You can see everything coming from a mile away and all that stuff, right? And then on a strategic part, though, it's all about the numbers, really.
And
right?
it's like super impressive organization, like how it's organized. That part blows me away. Like not being able to slip up for whatever, like 8-9 hours, having to literally deal with it, having perfect fucking warpins with the dreads, like clockwork. Like that shit's impressive on its own, you know?
Yeah, there's some cool shit. Oh, holy shit! What a
We say like
what a
8-9 hours. It's more. I think what was the one before this last Keepstar was like 15 hours. Or something.
Fuck me.
It was like 13. I think
Okay.
it was 15 is an
Okay,
exaggeration,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was more than 10. I think it was 13 hours.
Hey, thanks for that raid, guys. You guys are
Oh, hi,
insane.
Imperium.
And what's up, Brisk? Thanks for the sub, Brisk.
Hi, Carlisle. I
Yeah.
love you.
We just talked about the whole tie-dye and Keepstar stuff, but that's not gonna be the focus on this one. And Kendarr is coming finally. And he's not on. Or if he turns the camera on, he might be. So let's wait.
Turn your camera on.
I'm turning my camera on tonight, sorry. Next week I will.
I might have to move all the cameras around in a sec, but you know, for now I'm just gonna act like I'm Isa. Wait, your camera's off for some reason. Oh no, wait a second. Oh yes.
I'm probably
No, I turned it off because there was no camera.
Oh, okay.
While you're on the other side.
So what's your excuse, Kendarr? Why are you late?
Hmm?
Yeah, Kendarr, explain
what's his excuse,
yourself.
man? Making us wait and shit. I'm fucking with you, by the way.
Killing bads.
I'm not gonna lie, Miranda got really mad. She said she's gonna punch you and you're on the naughty list.
Yeah, I said you're on the naughty list. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Cool.
But yeah, we were talking about Keepstar stuff and so on. But I don't wanna I think also that all the guys that just came over from INN, that's probably what everyone talked about, right? The Keepstar fights and stuff like this. And I think after Keepstar number 4, you know, has been talked enough about it.
Yeah, I'm like happy that it's happening, but I'm also happy that I'm not in those fights. It's really fun to tune into them and that this stuff is actually going on. But I'm really happy I'm not sitting there, like you guys are saying, like 14 hours or something. That would break me.
Kenna, I'm supposed to let you know you didn't pap the fleet. How dare you?
Oh crap! I didn't. Somebody X up in fleet, and I will pass you boss, and you can pap the fleet. Thank you. I don't do paps.
God damn it, Kendarr.
By the way, that's a goon fleet, right? Like, and it doesn't do pups. Just saying.
No.
We did though for a while. You know, it's a legit point. If you have to organize a big group, like how do you measure activity? How do you measure contribution, right? It's a real problem in big groups. You want to measure that to a degree at least, right? You try to hit it. You'll never be on the mark with it, but
I think you should do it behind the scenes. Is my taking. It shouldn't be, line members shouldn't know. It should be done between sort of, the alliance leadership and the corp CEOs, and you go to the corp and say, okay, people aren't really putting their weight. Is there something you can do about that? Do we need to help you one way or another?
By the way, Kenna, are you going to turn on the cam? Because if not, I'm moving. Okay.
It's not today.
Kendarr
is on cam.
Yeah, I'm going to move stuff around then. Give me just one sec. Alright, that's the easy.
Sorry, Pando, to be a pain.
That's alright. I'm getting used to it slowly.
Yeah, you're in our corp now, so.
Yeah, but those who wonder, Kenna, you joined when? A week ago?
Yeah, 5 days ago, maybe.
Vertigo says, I like it being very public. There's no argument about where you lie on your contribution. And I totally agree with that because like in it, we don't have PAPs, but it's mostly, what I was going to say is it's mostly just people talking shit about each other. Like, yeah, that motherfucker never joins fleet, like blah, blah, blah. They're never doing anything. They're always logging off. But if you have PAPs, then you can actually look and be like, like who's actually joining the fleet? Or maybe it's just me talking shit about people not joining fleet.
I have to say, obviously I had insight on that stuff when we had PAPs. It was surprising sometimes for some corps, for example, how many people they would push into fleets and stuff like this. So like naturally I would say like, oh, maybe these guys bring like, I don't know, 5 dudes on average or so, no? And then it turns out they actually bring way more and you just don't see it. Might be time zone, might be whatever, right? So it's a, you know, the pub link thing, it's a legit thing to do. Not sure if I'm a fan of it, but it is a legit.
That makes sense though, to like have an overview of how useful certain groups are.
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah, it totally does. But that's still.
Yeah, I haven't FC'd actually for quite a bit. The last thing I FC'd was the CCP stuff with the Zappy boys. And before that, it was stuff in like Raravos and the high-sec things. It's kind of because all this big war stuff, I know if I take a small little 100-man group there, I'm just going to get fucking dumpstered being in the way. So I haven't been FCing that much in the last like month or two.
Yeah, you know what? I think you were the first one to take out a certain sized
Zappy boys?
Zappy boy fleet.
Got it buffed the day after.
Yeah, that was funny, right? The timing. Like they had that lined up already, or did they not? But I mean, so if they had it lined up, why wouldn't they say, "Hey, Bjorn, let's do it a day later," right? That would have made sense, right?
They could have buffed it the day before, but I mean, I just thought
Yeah,
I think they realized that they did hit like wet noodles and think, okay, maybe they can be stepped up.
But you know what? I still think even without the buff, in big numbers, they would be scary. Because in big numbers, that shit suddenly demolishes any Logi wing, right?
Yeah.
But when I say big numbers, that's like 100 plus at the very least, right?
Yeah.
I think
like a 200-man fleet of them would be, but I mean, most things in 200-man fleets are scary.
Yeah, but those are extra scary because they hit so many things at once, right? Yeah. But then imagine those in a big fight. That's extra tie-dye, I guess, right? Because you hit 5 targets. It's like, how many targets is that? Like 150 Zappy boys hitting 8. No, wait, how many targets each? 6? 5. Hitting 5 targets each. And then it has to, like, the server has to decide which targets, right? So I can imagine that's a tie-dye machine right there, which obviously you kind of want to avoid. But, yeah.
I think from the testings they did that they weren't that bad on the server as people thought they would be. They're not nearly the same as like smart bombs. And like they just generate instant logs for like specific amount. It's not like everything, including like, you know, literally everything in a certain AoE is getting hit. They are AoE, but they're not AoE, if you know what I mean. They still have like a limit to how many things they hit.
Yes, but at the same time, that makes them so strong too. If you think about it, I mean,
yeah, I'm just speaking from like that. If you're saying hard on servers, you could ungroup your guns and shoot 5 different targets. That's not gonna fuck everything up.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I think actually right now, after having tested them and them getting buffed afterwards, I actually think that if you took like 80 of them and fought an 80-man Ferox fleet, that they would come out on top. I haven't tested it, but I have an inkling that they
against.
I think they could outrange them, apply pretty damn well to battle cruisers. And I think pretty soon I'm going to start doing like public fleets with them.
I totally agree against Feroxes.
Yeah.
Right? But the heck matter, right? Against Units, against Eagles, they're not going to apply well enough.
No, and then you're taking a T1 cruiser against, well, a faction cruiser, if you look at it that way. Like,
yeah, but I'm up for that. I mean, I'm taking the Gilas out. I tested them on a big scale too and got dumpstered for it. But
did you still use the remote rep stuff?
Yeah. Nice. And it's I mean, I always knew they're most effective at a certain size, right? Like a 30-man fleet. That's where the last Gilas really shine. And then as long as you don't get alpha, you're gonna do well. But the second you get alpha and they run through you, you're in trouble, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
So, you know, I tested the scale and, you know, we lost a couple of Gilas for it. That's all right. that's what happens. But, I mean, that's one thing that I wanted to say about the Keepsters, actually. That I think, like, nobody enjoys the fight itself. And some people might like the story about it or whatever. But what I think maybe might have a positive effect is the mindset of people looking at this and then being more willing to say, okay, yeah, actually it's just spaceships, right? Might as well lose a few, right? It's not the end of the world if you lose a battle report, because everyone runs to Reddit and says like, oh, look at us, we won this battle report by 10 bill. Like, yeah, it's peanuts, right? So I just wanted to add that to the Keepster discussion, because I think that's maybe a positive thing coming out of this that's overlooked. But I don't know, maybe you know, maybe you got a take on that.
I think it's good that both, all sides have something to kind of herf and blurf about. I think that's a really good thing, that this is not just a curb stomp on one end, that, both groups seem to be very motivated to keep going, which I think is good. Because then, it won't just feather out and suddenly one group gives up,
Yeah. What about you, Kendarr? You're so quiet. Is Kendarr AFK again? Is he on the fleet again? God damn it, Kendarr. The fuck? What are you doing? Is he muted or something? Oh, he just ran off. Well, guys.
Bertizo's asking about having the Edencom ships be a good complement to a fleet to put pressure on rep broadcasts and hostiles.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see, but one is not enough, because one doesn't put enough DPS on anyone to lose their mind about it. We did that actually years ago against Darkness of Despair. Those, like, they lived in Esoteria at the time, and we brought in smart bomb battleships to do exactly that, right? Because over time, smart bomb battleships, if you anchor tightly, smart bomb battleships on 0 on your fleet, they will create a problem for you, especially if you have missile boats that rely on their missiles not getting killed by smart bomb battleships, right? So we anchored on 0 on them, and that caused a lot of trouble for them too. So it's a similar thing, I would say. But don't forget that it always jumps to a random target, and therefore the DPS, which is already low, is spread even lower. So most people will not broadcast for that one guy, right? But if you have like 10 of them, I can see that. I can totally see that.
I don't know. You say one person won't they won't broadcast for the one guy. But speaking as a Logi pilot and seeing what people broadcast for, I totally disagree.
Yeah. Don't broadcast for bomb damage, guys. One bomb. Everyone broadcast for damage.
Right, Kendarr appears. Where were you? Were you on a fleet again?
Oh, sorry. I stepped away to get a drink. Apologies.
That's all right. What do you think about the Zappy boys, Kendarr? Do you have any thought on them?
Yeah, I think they're really cool. I don't know. I think people know this, hopefully now, but you can, if you time it right, if I remember correctly, as a pod lands on a station and can instantly dock, like in low sec or high sec, if you activate it, it will hit the pod. So it's like you can smart bomb with it, but not you can't smart bomb with a smart bomb extra structure, but you can these.
No, I think Bjorn, wasn't it? The two of us, we tested it. Exactly that. That when you fall out of warp, you're not getting hit in warp.
Isn't it squishy? You did a video on it.
Yeah, I think you do get hit by it. Like if you're shooting something next to a gate and something's landing, pretty sure you're hitting the things as they land.
I remember testing it and you were there. I set up the whole thing for us actually. So we tested some stuff. Remember on day 1 when it was on a test server?
Squishy and then says you can kill pods. I made a video on it.
Yeah, that's where I know it from, because I watched it and thought, that's really cool. Imagine doing it to Snuff, right? And all their slave pods.
That's evil. No, you're not only on Miranda's naughty list, but on highest naughty list too. Yeah. And Towers too.
It's all going downhill.
Yeah. No other list.
Eve experience.
But yeah, so the Zappy boys are new, and then so the reason why I thought the two of you are gonna be paired up quite well, not only because like it's easy to talk to both of you, but Bjorn had a look at the new region, right? All the trick systems that are now.
I've been in it the whole time, and I keep going in, and you won't believe it. I'm like going out in a salvage Proteus, not shooting anything and having a fucking blast. It sounds super dumb, but like this is such a weird place. Like so, it's so weird and different to anything in Eve.
So, the reason why I thought Kendarr was interesting for this discussion, because Kendarr actually for years pushed for something similar. He always said, what do you say, the topography of Eve needs to change. It's an old game. It's time that stuff change. And it did, right?
Yeah, so the map obviously has been pretty much the same for quite a while since, if I remember, I think they added the drone regions and made the map bigger, but obviously it's been the same. The topology's never really changed. So when they did this, I thought, cool, this looks really good. Hopefully we get something from it. Not too sure yet if we're going to get something from it or not.
So, Bjorn, I have not had the chance. I saw your stream for like, I don't know, I watched for like an hour or so, and you were in the thing. I was like, what the fuck is even going on? So can you explain actually what is going on there a little bit? Like, is it content heaven?
No, it's really weird. It's 27 systems in like a pipe, basically, kind of. They're split up into like these 3 different sub parts that all have their own like lore, clades, whatever. You have to talk to Ash Dorothea about that stuff. But
Yeah,
they all
we
have
had
their
that
own.
map with the triangles.
Okay, yeah. They all have their own like capital system, which takes like really absurdly high standing to get into. But there's nothing different in there except there's this gigantic structure which apparently can dock the big world arc ships. I don't think that's implemented yet or online. So there's nothing to draw you into those systems right now, at least from what I've seen. It's not content heaven as in like there's not that many people here yet, but I've been like chilling for like the last, I don't know, 3-4 days in these systems, off stream, on stream. And it's really cool seeing like these tiny little groups start to move in. And it's like an unevictable wormhole kind of place. So it's got wormhole local, where it's like delayed local. So you choose if you want to let people know you're here or not. You have stations, like NPC stations in most systems. Some of them don't. So you can't really get evicted out of here. You have to have like 3.0 standings to go between the different systems, and that's not that hard to achieve. There are some weird like mining sites, which I have no idea about. There are some weird stellar fleet deployment sites, combat sites, which I think we were running in like Raravos when we were trying to flip that system. But it like really reminds me of like Raravos and Vale and those systems when we were flipping the systems for Triglavians really early in the invasion. So they had these like NPC fleets fighting each other, and it felt really alive. And it's that feeling in here. Like, even there might not be that many players, like you don't know if someone's cloaked next to you. There's people everywhere just trying to like salvage and loot shit and trying to like loot all the wrecks from the NPCs fighting each other. And then some people start fighting over these wrecks. It's like a really weird little mechanic and its own little ecosystem that is becoming.
And so there's no caps, which is a big difference, right?
There are caps. There are capitals in some of the low sec systems.
They're already in there, right?
Yeah, that people had seeded. So like if you pulled your capitals out of these systems, I think you're in for like a rude awakening, because they're selling for like way higher than they should, because you can't bring them in again. You can't sign them in. You can't. There aren't any Excel wormholes. So there's like a limited amount of capitals in these systems, and only in the low sec ones, because you can't take them between systems either. Certain systems cannot and will never have, as far as it seems, ever have any capital stuff in them.
So everyone who knows me knows, like, I get triggered about hard dreads a lot. I get triggered about faxes. I think
Bro, faxes in here are going to be sick strong. If you have a fax or something in here, like, hold on to that shit. But talking in chat saying a dread sold for 5 bill. I bought like 2 Rorquals for like 3, 4, 5 bill each. I was like, fuck it, dude. God. I'll never get these again. And I'm really sad I didn't move more caps into some of the low-sec systems, because I think they're going to be super useful in the future.
But wait a second. So there's warmer connections in there, though, right? There might be some extra large. There's only large?
Yeah. I haven't seen any XLs. I've been fucking looking.
I think that would be kind of interesting, to be quite honest, even if there was X large. Like, you can't move a shit ton of caps through. So every now and then someone gets a couple dreads in, right? 2 dreads.
But it's also cool that some systems that were high sec before will never get them in. However, you can still bubble in them. You can still throw bombs. It's still null sec in that kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah. God damn, I have to check that out. I really have to. Like, and how active is it? Like, so is it mostly like solo, very small gang, or is there like?
I haven't seen any. I've seen some gate camps like 20 people max, and that's some like Kybernaut Carbonaut dudes that I think caught Lucilu and CCP Alpha, but then they got completely dumpstered by like an equal sized gang that had like downshipped them for some reason. So like there's definitely small gang going on, but there's also all these other things. Like if you run into drifters, you could just be fucked unless you're in Cloaky. So it's forcing you to be more Cloaky. It's forcing you into this kind of wormhole-esque kind of choosing what you fly. I flew around in like a rail Deimos first until I ran into a drifter gate camp basically on one gate, jumped through, and there were also drifters on the other side. And I was like, oh, well, fuck. And I've been killed twice by drifters, but not like been killed by players yet. So it's like this really weird. Yeah, it's a weird space, and like you also have the wormholes when you go into a system and you see a bunch of these state navy whatever rats. Then you know that in that system there's a way to get to high sec or low sec, I think it is. If you go into a system and there like it'll be a wormhole in there. If you go in and there's drifters, or if there's drifters, then there should be a wormhole to another wormhole system. If there are sleepers in there, then there should be a wormhole to nullsec. And there was some kind of weird bug where the high sec wormholes would always have the same entry. The same high sec system would like close the wormhole and open again in the same exact system, but like in a different place in system. I'm not sure if they changed that or not.
So
like a way to get in a bunch of stuff in the first couple of days.
What are the reasons? So my question is, like, why do people have to like? Why would they go there other than curiosity and PvP content? So are there people actually care bearing there? Like, are they doing something, mission running or whatever?
There's like an LP store for the Triglavians, which can get like skill books, Triglavian blueprints for guns and the ships and all that stuff. And the rats that you kill, or that the rats kill each other, you can go loot them and trade them in for the what's it called again? Interstellar navigation logs. So you can get things to farm these up, but I have no idea if this is lucrative or not. Like I've been doing it just because it's fun, and it's fun to be like dicking around in a Proteus that I'm pretending is useful. And I'm not doing this obviously for ISK, but I'm having like a blast just chilling in here.
Are you name tanking maybe? Someone sees you salvage in a Proteus and they're like, that smells like bait.
I've had people chase me all over the place.
Like everyone's gonna be like, I don't want to end up being content.
You might think twice, but like at the same time, they still wanna, I've been chased around.
I definitely have to check it out.
When you ask me why are you there, is there a reason? There isn't really right now. Like I'm not making ISK in here. There's definitely other ways to make way better ISK, but this is just such a weird and different space. Like I tried one day or one night, I spent like roaming around different systems and seeing what that would be like. And then I spent another evening just in the same system because I heard all these complaints about people saying there's no point to go in there if you don't have the standings. So I was like, okay, well, how fun is it just to hang out in the same system if you find a wormhole in? And I had a blast just the whole night watching Netflix on one screen and then salvaging on the other one and dicking around with people and watching people fight over wrecks and like watching the rats fight each other and like the loot being like strangely spread out over everywhere. Ended up taking a Kronos in one as well. So I'm like dicking around in a Kronos for a bit, going back to the Proteus, getting my ass kicked by drifters again. And it's weird, man.
Kubo Otsada wants to know about if there's any way to do mining there.
There are mining belts that spawn in here, but I am not the person to ask about mining. I have no idea if they're good, if they're worth it. There are certain systems that will spawn these like anomalies. There aren't any mining belts. There are no belts at all in any of the systems.
It would be funny though, right? Or redistribution, they're like, hey, like you're missing some ore. It's all in here. It's like shit. Everyone has to go there to export some fucking special ore.
Yeah, I like I said, I have no idea about the actual minerals. Like I don't know what high sec minerals honestly are until I read the whole dev blogs about how they're changing. So
I think
talk about that.
I think in the lore, the reason there's probably no regular belts, the trigs deployed the belt miners, didn't they? They're like a structure that would mine the belts, so it's probably mined all the belts away, basically.
Yeah, you run into a few of these structures here and there, but you get these like they fight over all kinds of stuff. They'll sit on Pocos and fight each other. They'll sit on the gates. They'll sit on like stations. And I don't think you can anchor citadels, but there are still citadels that were anchored here before in the low-sec and high-sec systems. So eventually they might get bashed down, or they might become like really useful for clone jumping and stuff. Because you can put your clone in here as well, but you can't clone jump in from outside or even in a nearby system. Like you have to be in that station to clone jump. So you can swap clones if you want to like hop into a Sclapian clone or something, but you can't do it from high-sec.
So what's the most reliable way of getting in there? Because when I take like my
wormholes.
Wormholes.
Yeah.
So I need a back prober basically. I need a prober inside or someone who gives me a wormhole connection and then
and then get yourself into that hole. I'm right now going to be putting alts into different systems to have different. Like at first, I put in like 3 different covert sino alts into low-sec systems that you could put like before jump from Jita. They were like all in range. But when the systems flipped, suddenly you can't light covert sinos or normal sinos or anything like that. So they're basically useless. I just had them sitting in there in Purifier with nothing but ozone in their pocket. So I have to go and take them out, get them set up for scanning, and then seed them in different systems. Because I've been like killed a couple of times, potted out of there, and then be like, fuck, talk to someone I know and try and get back in.
So Sajin is asking, is it confirmed that you can get in with filaments? And is it the normal needlejack ones?
No, there are specific ones, and they're super fucking rare. I'm like super. I have not found a single one. I had one guy give me a filament. I think they drop in here, and there's like one that takes up to 5 people or players into one jump.
So you have to get it with a wormhole, and then hope that you get a filament so that you can get it.
I don't know. I'm not sure where the filaments come from.
If I remember correctly, the NPCs drop them. You know, when you kill them, they have a chance of dropping them. Don't quote me on that, though. I just remember reading that somewhere.
I mean, over time, I would imagine people seed them in Jitter, right?
Yeah, but they're like super expensive. Right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can buy filaments in here right now from the NPCs to take you out again. And like in the future, this might be a cool way if you have like a bunch of these return filaments. This could be like a different vibe than Thera, where you live in here in an unevictable station. You can do like weird stuff where you're just salvaging and dicking around and working for like the LP store itself.
Small scale
heaven. Then you could like filament out again into nullsec as a small group, and then have a way to get back in to the same region via filament instead of using wormholes. So it could be like a ping pong kind of filament thing in the future if you have enough of these return filaments.
Yeah, it's definitely
I don't know. It's like right now when you ask me why am I here, I don't know. I just am, and I'm having fun. I don't understand why.
Well, obviously, so the reason why I asked for like what are the Care Bear opportunities there is the long-term aspect, right? Like short-term, everyone's curious, right? Everyone's going there and checking it out, and there's a lot of action. We've seen it in, what was the first system that flipped? Raravos? Yeah. So Raravos was busy as fuck, right? Like there was action non-stop. And the second one, you can already tell like, oh, people adjusted, they knew what to expect. So I think the second one didn't see as much action.
And no, people are quicker at doing that. But like that was the invasion itself. This is more permanent. But I think it's also not done. Like I think this is a cool beginning framework. Right now, there isn't a reason for you to uproot your life and come in and live here. But there might be, like, what if in the future you have missions in here? And like Squishy and I were talking about this last night. Like, what if you get a mission? Like, and both of us, we don't need to fucking rat or make money, right? But how fun would it be to live here? And the missions give you like filaments that tell you, like, hey, here, take this filament, go and kill a player in that area or something. And then you have to do it in 15 minutes or the hole closes. You don't get to get back in. Like, there could be all kinds of funky things.
That would be, that's a hilarious idea, actually. A PvP mission
stuff. Yeah. And I mean, we don't know if they're gonna give us missions in here. We have no idea. We don't know if the capital systems, like, why do they have them? Why are there these giant structures that can dock these world arcs? It's not online yet, so like, what is more to come? There's definitely more to come. We just don't know what.
You know what though? Instantly when you said it, my brain jumped to like, how can it be exploited? And it can be exploited, right? You just have to have chars everywhere. And then like, oh, you kill a player over here, you film it out, and you're like, oh yeah, let me kill my char in an Atron, right? And then boom.
That or just like some PvE mission, but it puts you into other people's space to go and do something. and you have to do it quickly and then return.
That is true.
Like,
I feel like they could easily fit into the lore too, because they're so PvP like centric.
Yeah, maybe you become the content, you know what I mean? You become the kill at the end, yeah. And you can't have chars in every system. I mean, technically you can, but, you know, even the craziest.
We have no idea if this is what they're planning, but like they have so many options with this area. And it doesn't have to be like any other current way. Like, and the system itself, like how the rats in here work, are so different when you go to like a belt or in any other space. Like the rats, it feels alive. Like the whole system feels alive. You undock, and there's like fucking war going on between two different NPCs on the station. You're like, well, fuck, gotta dock again. You undock again 5 minutes later. There's nothing but wrecks everywhere, and the other rats have warped off and are fighting somewhere else. Like it feels alive, even though it's not completely filled with players yet. Which is also like a fun little ecosystem.
Yeah, should it be everywhere in EVE similar to that?
I don't know if this is their test bed for that, but this is way more fun than having rats just sit and get slaughtered in
I think it is. If you remember quite a while ago, although that dev may no longer be at CCP, there was, I think it was an Imperium news article, and it said that they did an interview with a dev, and he said he wanted, like, he wanted well, not just nullsec, he wanted the game world to be more alive. Like, he wanted there to be like roaming groups of NPCs that if you came up, you know, if you were in a fleet and you came across, they would fight you, etc., or try to fight you and so on. So yeah, I think you're entirely right. It is the test bed, and then maybe later on we'll see that elsewhere.
Right. Like it's you don't want to change all of the how ratting works in EVE in like one flip. But like the way it worked, like I was taking giant fleets into Raravos and Vale to go PvE because there was this like PvEVP kind of element to it. We were literally just grinding these rats for hours, and then suddenly a fleet warped to us and we started fighting. And then as soon as they were dead, it was like, quick, go back to ratting, you know? It's like this really weird thing for like someone who does nothing but PvP. I had never had as much fun as in those invasions.
That's, you know, that's I think how we would love to have EVE everywhere, like in nullsec too, right? Everyone is ratting.
This kind of thing, like with the Sancha incursions, but just people who ended up doing incursions started doing them in the most perfect way, where if you're doing them in low sec, something jumps in, you just warp to a station and you chill and you wait. But in this, because there's no local, you don't know, like while you're fucking doing something, someone could decloak next to you, start pointing you, and suddenly you're in a fight, but you were just PvEing. Like I really like it.
Yeah, it would be nice to have that kind of alive everybody, right? Yeah.
I see like nothing but potential here. Like I've read so many negative things on Reddit and other places.
Oh, really?
And like,
I mean, what a surprise.
It's been a few days. Like, give it a chance.
There's negative things on Reddit, guys. You heard it.
You heard it here first.
But like judging it right off the bat for something you thought this would be, like I had no idea what this would be. I moved characters into a bunch of systems, but I didn't move any assets in. And I fucking should have, because now it's like, fuck, I gotta find wormholes. How do I get this in here? How do I fit this thing? And like that in itself is kind of fun as well. Like I don't have alts to work with because I don't have the standings on alts. So I'm having to do everything from one character, which is also like different to what people are used to. So it both limits how many people can just swarm in here and take over everything, and how many of your alts you can bring in. So I think there needs to be a better way to get your standings up, and they could tie something in here with that too, where you eventually get tags to help trade in, like you do with Concord tags, to get your security status up. Like who knows what they're going to bring in the future? Just
don't do it like Extra Squishy did, right?
I would never do it that way.
Yeah.
They're asking. Sajin asked if it's worth getting into the region without the standings, and Norman asked how the fastest way to get standings are.
Look, there was one night where some people realized that there was a quick way to get this standing thing up. Squishy, shut up.
Squishy fucked it up for everyone.
I did tell him about it. He decided to make a video. And I kind of had an inkling that maybe this would get touched up, so I kind of spent the whole night grinding myself. So I'm now able to traverse and go everywhere in the area, but I didn't do it on like a bunch of alts, which I also kind of regret. But it's also fun that I can only play with one, which is kind of limiting what I can do.
Yeah, you know what? That reminds me of, so Dark Shines is another strategic FC in it, right? And he actually started a high sec tune just to start from scratch with his girlfriend. No money transferred, no nothing, just to start from new. And he said, like, it's actually surprisingly fun. And that's someone who has like every ship in the game. He had a Moloch, right? Famous Moloch, but let's not talk about that one. Like, he did all kinds of things. But then he decided to play in high sec and said, like, oh, it's surprisingly fun. So, you know, I'm not sure if I believe him to this day, but you know, it's you know,
Like, it's weird. Like I was telling you before, Squishy and I, we don't need to rant and do this stuff. I could just be out there PvPing, but that's become like what I do all the time anyway. So like, this is something fresh and new. And no, I'm not doing it for the ISK. I'm doing it for the, exploration and excitement of something new and fun to play with. And you can wormhole just in and just be in one system. You don't have to go between a bunch of systems to have fun and do it.
Right.
I spent a lot of time, like, because I've been in nullsec the whole 5 years I've been playing Eve. I've always been in nullsec, and except for like a small time in lowsec at the beginning. But I made a character and I went and I joined Ash Tarothi in highsec and started running content with him. And we were streaming it together for a while, and it was really fun, and it was a nice break to get to do something else and go hang out with, like, I don't know, the opposite side of Eve for a while instead of just doing nullsec PvP, and go do highsec PvE for a while. And I did a lot of the Triglavian content and stuff, and it was great.
So you also, when you started, you got into nullsec quick, right, Brenda?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Because I'm asking that because I think it's important for new players to have their high sec phase, right? And then grow out of it at some point and then do something new, right? Be it low sec, null sec, or warm space or whatever.
Of course I was, I did my fair share of like mining in high sec because I didn't know that there was any other thing to do other than sit in like a venture and eat rocks all day. Like, and on my stream, I think the most viewed clip is of me streaming like 4 years ago, getting ganked in high sec, and the clip was titled like "Ganking High Sec Noobs LOL" in all caps or something, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, like, I mean, I did that, but I pretty quickly moved.
Just someone find that clip, please.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll link it for Norman. It's actually super embarrassing. None of my hardeners are on. Like, I literally just sit there and I'm just like watching my ship die, and I'm like, oh, like something's happening.
But the point I was trying to make was also 4 years ago, there wasn't that type of content for like people to work together. I mean, besides incursions, I think incursions are that old, right? There wasn't the like Triglavian invasion going on where you could team up and like, build a little bit of a team and do stuff together and stuff. You would be on your own, just mining away or doing your missions, and then every now and then talk to your guys. But there wasn't a real reason for high sec people to work together, I felt like, right? So maybe that's changing now, and I think that's a good thing. Overall, like, I mean, Eve is a super social game, right? So I think it's important that that Eve or CCP starts early on that social aspect of the game, because otherwise we lose players early on, right?
Yeah, and like this dude, I don't know how to say your name, Ferdinand, says, why do you think people should stay in high sec for some time first? And I mean, I didn't believe it until I moved to nullsec, but high sec is so much scarier than nullsec, and a lot of nullsec people will say that because you don't know who to trust. Everyone,
That's
like,
true.
it's terrifying.
Yeah, I remember.
I
remember spending ages in nullsec as an FC, and then one day I jumped into a high sec system on one of my alts, and there's like 80 neutrals in local, and just instantly crapped myself because I'd forgot that I jumped into high sec. Basically,
nowhere is safe. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Like when I'm in high sec, I don't feel safe at all. Yeah. And that's all. I think the main reason for that is though, and that's a mistake I think that came from faction warfare, is that the standings for the other factions kind of got screwed, and they don't recover naturally over time. Which means like I can't jump into certain systems just because I did faction warfare 10 years ago, or whatever time it was. 12 years ago actually, I guess, or 10. I don't even know. But the standings are still screwed. So when I jump into certain systems, which is not like, I don't know if I take this jump, like do I get tackled by the Navy or not? Like this kind of stuff that just it's just annoying. I feel like, right? And then boom, you're tackled, and it's just, I don't know. Do we really need that kind of stuff? I think it's just confusing for people.
Strumhart says, how many nullsec people would know about the rules of engagement, high sec wars, the art of not getting concorded, and if understanding why. And that's hilarious because I know every time, like when we use the drifter holes and we have to go through a high sec, even if it's just a couple jumps, or when we're doing anything like in low sec, for instance, it's hilarious in Fleet the amount of explanation that goes into like, okay, guys, set your safety to yellow. Like, just everyone chill. Do not shoot anything unless I tell you to. Because like, I mean, I don't fucking remember any of the rules to not get concorded or anything. Like, I mean, if you look up my actual PvP char, you'll see my standings. Like, I don't have a lot to worry about, but still, like, it is very confusing, and people in nullsec don't have to worry about it, so they don't know.
Yeah, whenever I take a fleet, let's say I take 100 people through a high sec, even if it's just 2 jumps, I'm gonna lose 2 people. 2 of them die.
100%.
Like, there's no way around it. For you, it might be even harder, right? Sometimes
people for my fleets, they start off in Jita, so like I'll assume they know how to get there.
That's true.
Still, like, there's always a couple.
But sometimes I think that's like, as an FC, it's easy to see, like, but for people that don't FC at all, they don't see the whole organization part, right? So sometimes I wonder, how do you even get people, like random people, together in one spot, doing the right things, and get away with it, right? You get fights and you do well in fights, and that's like, sometimes it's like I'm surprised. So like I think I said that actually when the last time, or the first time, actually it's the third time on, right? But
it actually hasn't changed much. It's because the people who are on fleet want to be there and they want to have fun and do well, and they're not being told log in because you have to, and they're like mindlessly doing it while doing something else. They're doing it and they have all their focus on it. So I think I'm lucky in that way, that everyone who's on my fleet really wants to be on that fleet.
Yeah, I always wanted to do some public fleets, but I cannot fear the day I will do it. I cannot fear that day.
Not surprised. People do. I mean, the people on the fleets are sometimes people who are, really, active in other groups as well, and then they come together, don't shoot each other. They know what they're doing.
Tal, when I saw Tal on one of your fleets, I was like, what the hell?
I mean, I've seen people ask you, Pando, before, like when you're going to be running public fleets so that they can join them. And we've gotten more than one person into initiative because they want to run fleets with you. So,
well, no, it's not like I don't fear getting the numbers, or like I just meant like I fear that like I'm spoiled having a well-organized group to form, right? If I ping, our form up time is 15 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. And then I get 100+ people, and they're in the right ships, and I can just say, okay, you switch out, and I've got the exact setup I want, and I'm pretty spoiled in that regard. So when I start doing like a public fleet, and suddenly it's like everyone wants to fly whatever, and then someone brings a fucking Drake, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
But like it's fun in some way.
Yeah.
You get to experiment so much. Like I've been super lucky. Like I don't SRP anyone. Nobody asks question. Are you sure? You just go, yep. and I get to just throw all these weird fleet comps into the mix and go, does that work? Nope. Everybody fucking died. And then
Well, that's
something
what Warp for us.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I do that too. Like, I don't have SRP Kiki fleets unless there's a strategic objective, right? If it's a fun fleet, you don't get SRP for it. You're supposed to have fun, right? And
but like asking, I don't know, 120 people to put nothing but smart bombs on maulers and try and pipe bomb people by jumping them off gates. Like, nobody said, "Are you sure?" They were like, "Cool, sounds fun." Like that kind of dumb stuff. That's and just every other type of fleet I've gotten to use and get a feel for. I think I've been very lucky in that sense.
You know what? I think that's an underrated aspect too when it comes to FCing, and I've talked about it before. That if you do special stuff, you call it dumb stuff. I call it like, you're being creative. You come up with something new, right? People want to do something new. They want to be the first ones doing smart bomb maulers, or in our case, like doing the Stukas, or later the like Kikis and Snatch Fleet, right? With all MGDs and all that stuff, like, or Bush Ravens. Like, there's some crazy shit we did, right? But people show up for that gladly. They want to do something special. You know what I mean? So I think it's always easier to form something new and say like, hey guys, I want to test this. Let's have a look. Than say like, hey, let's form a mutant fleet like we have done 1,000 times before, and we probably fight another fleet of mutants. But the mutant fleet with more numbers is not going to engage the other mutant fleet. Wants to engage, but the lower numbers don't want to engage. So it's like the fight probably won't happen. Like, I can't get excited for that. I really can't.
I think the best time that I've had is when you were going through your stage of remote rep doctrines and experiencing with all of those, and we just take out like 20 people and go filamenting.
Yeah, and you know what? That was also interesting with you, Bjorn. When I started the whole first last Vexor Navies, Gilas, Ishtars, and so on, right? When I was on Vexors or Vexor Navies, one of the two, I think the Vexor Navies I kind of fucked up. There was a good fight to be had, and I fucked it up. And that's why you asked, hey, can you do that with Gilas? And it was on the list next, right? And I knew already. Yeah, Gilas are the strongest for it. But I wanted to build up for it, right? And I still want to make that video actually explaining the concept a little bit, because I think people don't understand, really. Some people made fun of it when we tested it against a big fleet, outnumbered 2-1, and caps 1 grid and stuff. And we wiped the entire fleet of Gilas. Like, people made fun of that, saying like, oh, look, Gilas suck. Like, yeah, I guess, it's... But they don't understand what's actually the concept behind it. So I still wanna, that's still on my list. I need to make that video actually. And you called it right away, like, hey, what about Gilas? And like, yep, Gilas are next. You can spot a theory crafter right away. Yeah. But yeah, so another change that's coming up and that I'm really hyped about.
The supers?
Exactly. But I don't know
from Kendarr about that one, because my input on it's gonna be like, what the fuck? Like I've flown supers like a fragment of the amount of time that I've played Eve. The whole concept of reviving mid-fight, like, is this even gonna be useful? Is it only gonna be Hicks? Is it only gonna be bubblers reviving? Are you actually gonna stage your fucking supers close enough that when you respawn, you can just start fighting, or are they always bubbled and the subs are fucking useless anyway? I don't know what to even say about it. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about him.
Give me one sec. I'm gonna put up the quote on screen. What it actually says. Sec. Work. So I'm gonna read it quick. Oops. So Eve's colossal super carriers will be getting a major update in the Phoenix Quadrant, including the introduction of a new tactical clone ability, allowing destroyed player capsules to respawn immediately at a local fleet supercarrier and into a new ship stowed inside the supercarrier itself. There will also be a significant visual update. La 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 la. So the key factor here, before we talk about it, really is like how, like, or you know, that's the first thing we need to all figure out, I guess. How does it actually exactly work? I don't know. Like, what exactly does that mean? So does that mean anyone who gets killed in a pot then and has a super in his fleet gets the option of spawning inside that super? Or do we get a clone vet bay, which required a lot of prep? Or not a lot of prep, but it required preparation. You know, you had to explain, you have to put the clone in and then move the ship to a certain place, then clone jump, then grab the ship and so on, right? Or is it a different approach and anyone in fleet can jump to you at any time because you have that thing now?
What does that mean? Does that mean your super has to carry all the doctrine ships in it, or does it just have materials inside, or does it cost you plex? Like, what the fuck is the actual mechanic? Like, it's hard to talk about it really because we don't know what it will be.
What do you guys wish for?
You're gonna put an entire fleet of ravens inside of a super and then jump that in. Like,
I'm thinking about kickies, but yeah, I mean ravens work too. I mean? But so what do you guys wish for how it worked? I mean, maybe Kendarr, you've been so quiet. What do you want it? How do you want it to work?
I'm kind of quiet about it because again, it's just so much speculation going on with it. So, I mean, the video was very misleading at first because there was a hidden Titan at the back that was bridging the subcaps, and at very first, I thought the super carrier was jumping in with the fleet and taking the fleet with it, which I was like, yes, this will be absolutely awesome if that's what they're gonna like do. But it's not the case from if you look, because there is actually a Ragnarok in the background. But no, I just hope that you die, you respawn, you get a new ship, you get back into the fight. That's probably what it's going to be, is just a faster way to get back into the fight. I mean, if we look at the Keepstar fights and how long it takes to get back into that fight, it's going to be a faster way if you're already in system respawning from the ship or the super carrier, not the ship.
Yeah, so I mean, so from how they framed it, they really want to help people out that actually died in this fleet already. They don't want people to get into the fight without them already dying before. You know what I mean? Because like first I thought maybe what they want is, not what they want, but what they implement is a way for us to say, okay, instead of forming kikis and then joining wormholes, like taking wormholes and getting the fleet, like getting rockets tackled and then travel there, we now could just, you know, light one Sino, jump a couple supers in, have everyone clone jump to the Sinos, to the supers, jump into kikis and start murdering stuff, you know? That's what I got kind of excited about.
I don't think it's going to be like only move the supers and then clone jump everyone too. I think the way it sounds to me is that there's a fleet fighting something, and if it starts to lose, you can then hop a super in and then start respawning on that super that's on grid with you, as far as I understand.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be, so that's my guess, is that it's going to be if you die and you have a super in your fleet in the same system where you died, you get that option to say, okay, yeah.
Not just in the same system, like I think on the same grid, it looks like to me.
Ooh.
Well, hopefully it's not just on the same grid, because I was just thinking then, you know, there's quite often a situation in nullsec we come across where you might have wiped over an objective and you want to go again, so you form up again and get ready to bridge in and try again. And, you know, if it just gives you that ability to sort of pull back on a friendly fort, as I say, where the super is, everybody reships, you reform, and you go in again, that'd be really cool as well.
I mean, it's a similar concept to the Frick Bay in Battleships, because that extends your grid time as a fleet member too, which I think is a really good thing. Right? I had that actually happen to me in a fight the other day. I was on a Bargon, and then I got killed, and I was like, ah, shit. And then I realized, oh, I'm in a Retribution now. And then I had everyone assign drones to me, and I just started murdering small stuff. It was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah. I think that's exactly the angle CCP are going for with this, is how can we keep people in the fight for longer after, especially when you look at the block scale. You know, you get, you know, it's thousands and thousands of people, you get primaried, you're gone instantly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really very engaging, is it? It's not like, oh, I'm tanking, now I'm slowly dying, I've overheated my hardeners, I've made a difference. You can't really do that at this scale in the war at the moment.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, it's definitely a case of, well, here's a new ship, get back in there and do it again.
And I think I think everyone here knows how it feels like forming up half an hour, traveling somewhere half an hour, waiting for the shit to kick off, maybe half an hour, maybe longer. So you have invested time, right? An hour, maybe an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before stuff kicks off. Then the fight kicks off and you get headshot off the field, right? You might not even be the FC.
Fuck.
Yeah, you might just be Logi Anchor. You might be just, hanging out with everyone else. You're just a fleet member, right? And then you get headshot off the field anyway. And 2 hours to just get headshot in 1 minute. It's just like, ugh. But if you're in a battleship, you might just respawn in a retribution. And it's not that bad, right? I wish
think it's different than what Kendar's saying about respawning on the super next to your fort. Like, in that case, you could have well just set your clones in that fort and had ships in there. So I think
there's
it's
a logistics cost, isn't there, on that? So you think about it, you'd have to pre-stage all the ships and so on. And at our scale we're talking about, it can be quite massive to do that. But although we've seen it done before.
Yeah. How do you then you can't have all these ships in sight. Like, you can't. What if you have ravens in the super, but then the ravens get pulled back and instead you engage with Munins? Can you then still spawn as a Munin on it? Will there be some kind of token system that you can carry a bunch of respawns in your super and it can just respawn fucking anything? But like, how do you balance that? How do you
No, it says. But it says into a new ship stowed inside the supercarrier. So the ships have already to be in the supercarrier, right? In the ship maintenance bay, I'm assuming. I mean, I would be happy with just a clone vet bay that holds a lot of clones, and I could do all kinds of kicky magic with them, right? Like 3 supers with a bunch of kickies inside in clone vet bays. That would be beautiful. I would jump those in. I would risk those, and then clone jump everyone, and you have some extra DPS. But then hostiles also have an incentive to bait me and tackle those supers, and go a little bit more. Like, it's more of an instant fight then, I would believe. So
I think they're gonna get used for just more hicks. You die in a hick, respawn again, keep tackling supers and shit. Like, that's what I think they'll eventually get used for, however it's made. Like, if you're gonna bring in stragglers who died, are you not better to bring them in via another sino where they, unless you're like fighting way beyond your area?
Yeah, exactly.
My gut feeling is that this mechanic's never going to get used.
That's my gut feeling too.
Because I'm like, would I ever want to put a super carrier in a vulnerable state? Like, it's that risk versus reward, isn't it? What is it worth me putting this, I don't know, at a minimum 15 bill asset on grid to
with all of those ships?
Yeah.
Daddy Deep says it will be a personal hangar. Maybe you put in a battleship or a couple cruisers or a dozen frigates, depending on how you want to fill your allocated space. So you think every member of the fleet can have that? So I hope that's not what it is, because that's preparation to another level. Because then you have to prep for everyone has to put a ship in there in case they die, instead of having just 10 or 20 spare ships in the super, and then those 10, 20 dudes that die can switch, right? Because I think that would be too crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's all speculation. But I wish, and that's maybe a little selfish to say, but I wish you could just clone jump to them without any preparation, without the need to die first, right? Because then you would risk those supers. You would jump them in. You would then clone jump over, try to save them. Right? But if it's not strong enough, it's not gonna get used. If it's too strong, obviously not good too. I'm not sure where the balance is, to be honest. In the trailer, it looked like an AoE Sino jump first, right?
Yeah, it did.
But I think that was just cinematic stuff. People have talked about that you know, there was a Titan there somewhere, and you know, it was just for the cinematic.
Yeah, because if it was to show you how you actually bridge off of a Titan in game, how boring would that be for a trailer?
Yeah, it looks.
Everyone keep at range and bump this Titan. And...
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
trailer though.
Yeah, I like that trailer too. I liked it.
Yeah, we all like a good Eve trailer, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the next This Is Eve trailer. I'm so jealous. I want to be in that one. But yeah, I think it's to this day the best one. Good trailer with Asher. I'm not sure, but I don't think that's Asher actually. People keep saying that character that was shown there would be Asher, but I don't think that was him. It's very similar though.
McLeod's asking a good question though. Like, what happens if a super dies and there's 200 plus ships in it who all have their reships in it? Do they just suddenly drop an entire fleet of ships for the enemy to pick up? Like, how does this?
That's what I was saying with it being like maybe not worth it. Like that's a lot of risk.
Yeah, I mean, if they go with the, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying like your entire fleet would be in there, and then all of a sudden like boop, gone.
I mean, I don't mind that part if it works like I was hoping, that you can just, you know, Nixus jump in, Clone by Bay goes on, and then people can clone jump in and grab the ships. I mean, that's how the Clone by Bay works right now. Just the amount of clones is too low, right? You would have to use, I think, to get a certain amount of, for example, Kikis or whatever, you would have to use like 3-4 Titans, which is not really realistic. You're not jumping 4 Titans in to do it. Right? You're not jumping 4 Titans on 5 Raw Cards to then jump into Kikis or like whatever you can fit into those Titans. So, you know, but I can totally see 3 or 4 supers do that. You know, risking 40 bill to kill 15 bill or so. Yeah, why not? If you get away with it most of the time, you get good with it, and you don't get caught.
Yeah, and then that one time you do, you never do it ever again.
I don't know about that. You know what?
That was fun.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of super cap pilots that are hungry for this kind of stuff, that are really eager to do this, that are willing to risk.
Definitely is good. It's changing the super caps so they have like more of a role like this is definitely a good way to go, in my opinion, compared to what they are at the minute. I mean, my personal view of capital warfare is, and a lot of people disagree with this, and that's fair enough, but I believe it should stop at dreads. I really think they should be like, you know, dreads, carriers, faxes, and that's it. And then Titans and super carriers should really just be like some huge, massive roll bonus sort of that does something really cool, like this rapid respawn.
Yeah, I mean,
bridging and so on.
You could technically do that right now if you just jump in a Rorqual with him with a Clone Map Bay.
Well, we did that before to just tackle, right? But the Clone Map Bay of a Rorqual only has so many clones. It's just like, I think 9. So what do I do with 9 people? And then it's only mining ships you can jump into.
This thing on the supers will be used for like tackle supers that jump in, and then you reship again off that same super into another hick and keep tackle and shit. Like, I think that's what it's going to end up getting used for. Whether it's just mass spamming bubblers and sabers that respawn again, or if it's just hicks, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to make something new where you're risking more of your supers in a more kind of small scale way, and not only in the biggest fucking things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what they do, I'll promise right here, we'll try it out. Even if it looks too weak or whatever, if it looks like it doesn't make too much sense, which I kind of feel like it's gonna be a little bit too careful to not be too strong. So it probably isn't worth it with all the prep and all the, you know, you have to have the Sino, the super in range, and you know. So I think maybe for big fights it might just happen, but like on a smaller scale, on a day-to-day basis, nobody's gonna use it. But I'll try it, definitely. I'll try it. But you know, that's actually one thing I thought about right away. I was like, well, how about Bjorn? Like, so if it was just You have to be in fleet and you can just clone jump to it no matter what. You don't need any preparation or anything. Imagine you just roam in a super, like Bjorn roams in a fucking Nyx, gets tackled, and then he's like, oh shit, guys, everyone jump my fleet, save me, right? And he just
broke.
I mean, it would be fun as fuck too, though, right?
It's so broken because people would take that and use it as like, let's roam with 50 of them, and if we're in any trouble, let's just jump everyone onto them. Like,
but at the same time, people, I mean, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, sign up and Titan Bridge and people jump onto your head anyway, right? That's broken as fuck too, though. You know, it happens already. And this way you could counter drop them, technically.
And you have to have another person in a ship that has a Sino because the super can't. I don't think you're going to go back to where supers are suddenly able to just instantly get help if they're tackled. Like suddenly, you know, your umbrella is backwards. You just have to have players and you go ratting in your super. And as soon as you're tackled, everyone jump to me and your clones. Like, it sounds kind of weird.
But maybe if it was in the same region, would that be more balanced, right? Because the range is the big factor, right? When people can just jump to you from Jeddah or from wherever they are, then it's like, oof, a little strong. But what if the range was limited to the same region? Huh? Maybe that would work.
I don't think that's how they're showing us. Like, the info we have now is...
I don't think so, either.
On the same fight that you just died in, you can get back into the fight where you just died. The whole, like, Phoenix, it's called Phoenix. You're, like, reborn after you died in that fight. You basically become like a PlanetSide 2 Sunderer.
Yeah. I think what you said earlier is right. I think it is going to be, like, exclusive to the grid you're on. It's not going to be a case of...
I hope it's a system. Oh, I hope it's a system, not only on grid. Because if it's only on grid, actually nobody's going to use it then.
No.
If it was in system and you have a cycle time of, like, let's say at least 2.5 minutes, people can probe it out and catch the super. It's no big deal if they realize, oh shit, they're doing this, right? So it's not like it would be risk free. I think doing it only on grid would be a mistake. That would be too safe, too actually unsafe for the super. So nobody would ever use it, I think, unless it's a Citadel fight. And then what's the point if it's your Citadel anyway, where you're tethered on? Why not clone jump to the Citadel anyway? Which is, you know. So I think it has to be in system and not just, if it's only limited on grid, that's a mistake, I think. System would be dope, someone says. Yeah, I think so too. We can make it work, make it interesting with just the system, I think.
I think if you had this now, and let's say you were in the fights that you've been in lately, would you really risk a super with an entire fleet of battleships in it just so you can quickly respawn on that same grid?
Like, yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. Like, it's that whole risk versus reward thing, really. I mean, some fights, yes, definitely, but like for your average probably skirmish, no. Because here's 30 bill. Is my fleet even worth 30 bill? No, then it's not going on, is it?
Yeah, but maybe you want to kill 30 bill. So I see it like that. We're hunting with kickies and whatnot. So we tackle a super, or we tackle a bunch of supers, who knows, or a bunch of raw cards. And we have that next ready to go. Then we might just light that sign for the extra DPS and then warp him to safe if it gets a little bit too hot. And then maybe we need extra dictors. Cycle that thing. Let people jump in.
Maybe stage supers all around New Eden, so when you do catch something, you go, okay, who can jump a super here so we can keep respawning and definitely kill this fucking thing.
And you'd be surprised how many people would accept for that.
Would get used, even if it's like less, it's more like a casual fight. And then you're putting more of these things on grid where they can get killed instead of just in the giant fights. Like, in that kind of sense, it does sound kind of cool.
And then that's another thing about what I wanted to say about the Keepster, or what I did say about the Keepster stuff. Like, what is a super? You know what I mean? We almost killed 100+ supers the other day. You know what I mean? In one swing. Like, what's the real risk of losing that one super? I know, like, our guys, if we jumped in and let's say out of 10 fleets, we get away with it 9 times, and then we lose our super. Nobody's gonna, be too mad about it. It happens, So I can see a lot of people out there do the same thing and be willing to actually lose a super here and there, and not, you know, I mean, put it in perspective, right? We're losing like 1 trillion on those keep stars. Like, you know, losing one super, isn't that big of a deal? Nowadays, it really isn't.
Not from a blocks perspective, no.
I mean, in general, it isn't. Like, people need to be more willing to lose shit, I feel like, in this game.
Yeah, definitely. But I think from the smaller groups might not be so inclined to like go that way.
But I think it's more of a personal investment. It's not a group investing in those supers. Like, if I would call for like someone to jump in at Nyx, he should be very aware that's his Nyx. He needs to be willing, you know. He needs to be willing to risk it. It's not my Nyx. I'm not going to SRP that thing unless it's a strategic thing for the alliance. If it's a fun op, you bring what you can afford to lose.
Makes sense.
Yeah, don't count on SRP there. And I think most people will be willing to do that. It's, you know, at the end of the day, most people actually nowadays have 2 supers or 3, right? And a Titan on top of it, and who knows what not. So yeah, let's hope they hit the balance well, and the risk reward thing is actually, you know, in a good place, so people will use it. But yeah, it's gonna be tricky. Is the big boy mad? He's barking at us.
Yeah, I muted myself. He's barking at us now.
Oh, look at him all mad.
Give me attention.
But yeah, guys. You guys got anything to add? Any good questions in chat, maybe? Because if you got any good questions or any like point about it, put it in. Do you guys think that some kind of webbing bubbles on Dictors and Hicks would be a good thing? You can still warp out, but are slowed down? Nah, I don't think that's a good thing. AoE webs, I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not. I mean, look at the supers, what they do to like all gangs. Nobody can engage a certain sized super fleet if they know how to use projectors. You get pointed, you get webbed, you get neutered and painted, and then you get pointed, webbed, neutered, and painted again and again and again and again. Right? You're not getting out. So I think that's a bad thing on supers anyway. But maybe, I mean, I don't know about Bjorn and Kendarr. What's your point on that?
I think some variety wouldn't hurt, to be honest.
You would like AoE webs, like
probably not.
web
probably not on Dictators or Higgs, because they're so mobile. That'd be brutal. Unless they were really small, but then you'd be asking the question, what's the point? But I think like a static bubble that webbed instead of interdicted would be cool. So you put that on a gate, someone's crashing the gate, then instantly slowed.
I don't know. It's a gate camp buff then, I guess, right? I don't think I'm a fan. What about you, Bjorn? Bjorn, you're gonna hate that, right? An AoE, like a web bubble?
I don't know. It could make some things work that I could have fun with too.
But you jump through a gate, reapproaching is not an option anymore because there's a web bubble there. I mean, I don't know how much percentage you would talk on, right? If it's 10%, like, you know.
It probably would be a buff to warping as well if you was like in a nullified fast traveling scepter or something. That'd be like, it'd help it align out, right? So it should. Maybe. Don't know how that mechanic works.
Or maybe it would be just a one-time AoE effect. So if you, like, it's not going to be constant where like a bubble, you can constantly not warp inside, right, for 2 minutes. While the web effect would only be like one burst. Everyone's webbed that is there right now for a certain amount of time, you know. So for gate camps, they have to use it the second you decloak, right? So they can't have it constantly.
Think like we're talking bombs as well, almost there, aren't we? If it's like a hits you, you're affected for 120 seconds.
Or maybe you can do a cycle time on it too, right? So it has to spool up first for 5 seconds when you hit it. That might be a good balance for it. I mean, maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way for web bubbles. No, I don't know. Alright. And then McCloud, did you like the swooping ravens in the Horizons video? I don't know why you're asking me about that. Because I fly so many ravens. I guess, I mean, Raven is an iconic ship. Ravens have been in a lot of trailers, actually. Even though I think they're kind of ugly.
I think in the era of MJD Ravens Pando, I think the Rock was better. Sorry.
In a subcap versus subcap fight, definitely.
Yes, yeah.
But if you wanted to kill caps, like how are you gonna do that with rocks? You like tickle them to death
no,
and
you're
ask
not,
them
you're right.
nicely.
That was so cool though to see that meta develop. Like you came out with the Ravens, and then I think it was NC that came out with the first MJD Rock fleet specifically to counter your Ravens, which was awesome.
That was tough.
Yeah.
And you know what? Another counter was Chemo Lokis, and we never used them because we didn't want to give it away. It was always, I was like, I would love to chemo these guys, but like then everyone knows about chemos, right?
Now everyone's doing it, so
Yeah,
Chemo is quite active in this war.
Yeah, like we did it on a soft timer at some point against GOTG, and we chemoed like 100 scepters. It was just beautiful. It was just like, oh, if you come up with a plan like that, and Bjorn knows how it feels for sure. Right? I'm not sure, Kendarr, are you much of a theory crafter? You're actually not theory crafting all that much, right?
Not anymore. I used to do a lot, obviously, back in the day, but not recently.
But when
not anything new. What I tend to do is steal other people's ideas. I will openly admit that.
Yeah.
I let somebody else come up with a good idea, and then I'll go and adapt it and use it myself.
But for me personally, that's the best. If you come up with a crazy idea, and everyone's like, that's crazy enough, that should be fun, and that's the only reason they joined, they don't expect it to work, but then you make it work, right? Oh, it's the best. Right? That's the best.
It's what Pando lives for.
It is. I'm not gonna lie, it is.
I thought the Zappy boys could be used that way, with the old frog fleet jumping around stuff. And I used that with CCP, where we had 5 MGD Desis and then 20 cruisers just sniping. And if you could split like a 200-man fleet into small gangs like that and have everyone FC little jumping around snipey dudes, could be super aids to fight.
Yeah, but you need so many FCs. Like I can't even tell you how many people told me like, oh, the bushing is still fine. You just have to, split it up in 7 different groups. I'm like, yeah, like
strap people up for it.
Good luck. It's tough. It's really tough.
It always makes me laugh whenever somebody says like, I want you to divide your fleet up into squads of 10 and then make them do your separate stuff. And it's just like, that's not going to happen. I'm really sorry, but that's not going to happen.
Not in today's Eve, no.
Yeah. Not unless I've got 10 FCs there to FC every squad.
Yeah, the thing is,
like trying to divide people into bomb squads and shit. You're like, okay, everybody put yourself into 10 people per bomb squad. You'll never get 10 people per bomb squad. Like, people aren't self-sufficient.
That is kind of true. Yeah, at a certain scale, you have to, like, people need to, get organized. If they organize themselves, it's always chaos.
The common one with that was always dreads. I'd be like, right, 10 dreads to a squad, please, guys. And you'd always end up with like 16 dreads in squad 1. It's like, what are you doing? Come on, move.
And yeah, McLeod, the hysteria about the Raven fleet when we called it the mystery fleet. Yeah, because it was a secret weapon against NC's caps, right? And then we had to form these within 5 minutes. Like, think about it. It was a doctrine that I couldn't reveal until we would use it. And it's so special, right? It's so weird that, you have to, within 5 minutes, we had to form, get on those dreads. It was quite a challenge, but we got it done. We killed a couple caps. It wasn't a super hardcore success. We killed more than we lost, and then we were outnumbered, and like they had caps. But I wanted to really murder caps, like run through them. But we didn't have quite the DPS that day. But it was good. How about some kind of support ships who can boost damage or range for a small amount of time in a way that strengthens smaller fleets with a malus to big fleets so they don't get the buff? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe. I can't give you an answer to that one, to be honest. Maybe the other guys can.
I think it's worth exploring. It's just going to end up. Well, it's just going to end up with like flies buzzing around you when you're on a fleet and really annoying you. I remember when, Cormors are quite popular in this war, apparently. I don't know why, but I remember in the last Casino War, Moa was still around. He used to run Corms, and they'd have that many Corms, I'd take out Caracals. They'd be able to alpha a Caracal. And I'd be like, what? Get Caracals popping in my fleet. I'd be like, what? Why? But yeah, it's just, it's a way to buff the smaller guys, isn't it, against bigger guys? Pando, something I want to ask is, what do you think about I don't know if you discussed this already, the resource shuffle and the sort of, the new war anomalies in low and high sec, how it's all changed around and stuff. What's your take on that?
To be honest, like, I kind of got an idea, but I'm not too sure, to be honest. Because I never, like, I don't know the numbers, like, how much do you need of what to build and, like, all that stuff. Like, I'm not too much into that whole thing. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to, have a great idea about this. So, like, I hope...
Do you think it was a good change?
I hope it is. But I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't know. I really don't. It could be really bad. It could be really good. I feel like nobody should be surprised that it's not great for their particular gameplay, because it basically hits everyone, right? So yeah, obviously, like, everyone who's thinking about their own gameplay complains. So yes, it's natural that a lot of people complain. So I don't know how legit all those complaints are. I think there's a legit point. I know you are a fan of that, but certain low-seckers, the Mr. Low-sec CSM Phantomite is actually not a big fan of it because he doesn't want mining in low-sec. Which is, and you had the point when we talked about that for like for a minute or so, like 2 days ago or so, you had the point saying it's not about people that live in low-sec. It's about getting people to live in low-sec. And I think that was an interesting point, because low-sec is far from perfect. Right? It's like, it's not active enough, I feel like, and stuff like this. So maybe it will get more activity there, but I don't know. I don't know for sure.
It's about improving the ecosystem, isn't it? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think resource scarcity, definitely. I think we need that. Yeah, I definitely do. If it's done right, I don't know. Maybe Bjorn, you got an idea, but I guess you're gonna be on the same side as me. Like, I don't know. Right?
I think, it's hard for me to have an opinion when I don't do these things, and to have an opinion that actually anyone should listen to. People have asked me about it and go, "Oh, what's your opinion?" Like, I don't know. I don't fucking mind. I don't know what this actually means for you locally who live over there. Like, does this make, places like Provi actually more enticing because you're closer to everything, or does it not matter at all because you'll just jump freighter it in anyway from like really far away? I don't know. When CCP say they want to do this for the ecosystem for like EVE in 5 years kind of thing, and I'm like, cool. They have specialists that know what they're talking about. I can't give an opinion on this.
Yeah. Same boat I'm in. I've got a vague idea, but like, I wouldn't dare to tell anyone to listen to what I think about that particular thing. CCP has specialists. I hope so. But yeah. Guys, maybe this is actually the right moment to just call it, because we're over an hour and a half. That's kind of what we always aim for. And what? Oh, was it the doggo? Nobody's gonna be mad at him. Look at him. The sad boy. But yeah, I would say, guys, thanks a lot for showing up. Even though, Kendarr, you were a little late, I was a little disappointed, I have to say.
Do you not know there's a war on? Do you not know there's a war on? Yeah.
Sometimes the war gotta wait. No. It's alright. If you had people in fleet, I forgive you. I didn't know it was your fleet. I thought you just joined some random fleet. But, whatever.
Have me on. It's fun chatting.
Yeah, good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I would say, see you guys on the next one. And latest should be Tuesday, where I'm gonna stream some small scale stuff again, like some gang, like I don't know, maybe Brick Destroyer sized, maybe last Healers, maybe something, maybe we go hunt. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alrighty, then see you guys around. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.